Okay, so now that we understand the shape of the graph, right, I want you to picture a swimmer. I want you to picture a swimmer. So now let's talk about the sine swimmer, right? So the swimming pool is our Cartesian plane. What is a trig function? You do know that when we have the Cartesian plane 0, 90, 180, 270 and 360 degrees, if we had to expand this, it would look like that. So that's 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. So there we go. We've expanded the Cartesian plane into a trig function. We're going to assume that it's a swimming pool. So there we go. That's the start of the pool. That's the water. And you've got a 90-meter swim, a 180-meter swim, a 270-meter swim, and a 360-degree swim. Let's look at this. And we're going to look at behaved graphs. So you get behaved. Yes, you do. You get behaved graphs, and you have misbehaved graphs. So you've got good graphs, standard graphs, and you've got graphs that go totally crazy. So we're just going to call them, for the sake of the show, for the sake of our understanding, behaved graphs and misbehaved graphs. Right? So let's start with a behaved graph. We say f of x is equal to 3 sine x. Now this is very basic. I'm going to first do an analysis of the equation before we sketch the graph to make sure that you understand what each component of the equation stands for. What does f of x stand for? What does the 3 represent? What does the sine represent? What does the number here in between represent? And what does x represent? Once we've understood that, and they tell you, they give you a domain, they give you a restriction for x being an element of 0 to 360. So that is our swimming pool. They are telling us, there's your swimming pool from 0 degrees to 360 degrees, sketch the graph. The question in the exam would simply say sketch. Right. There are some theory questions that they will ask you before you need to sketch the graph. So they could ask you, what is the amplitude of the graph? And I'll explain to you all these terms. What is the amplitude? What is the domain? What is the range? And these are all 2-mark questions, guys. Right? What is the range? And they might ask you, what is the period of the graph? Okay. The amplitude, I want you to remember, is the maximum height that the graph would achieve. And what is the maximum height from here? It's given by that number in the front. So that number there on the top, in front, the coefficient there represents your amplitude. The maximum height. So the question asks, what is the amplitude of the graph? The amplitude is 3. Where did we get the 3 from? We got it from there. What is the domain of the graph? The domain is your x values. So which x values will be present in this graph? From x less than or equal to 360 but greater than or equal to 0. Your range is your lowest to your highest. So you know if your highest is 3, your lowest will be minus 3. The range will be from minus 3 up to plus 3. And what is the period of the graph? Period, we determine it from here. This number in between, we use the formula 360 divided by that number is equal to the period. So 360 divided by, what is the number here in between, guys? There's an imaginary 1. So 360 divided by 1 is equal to 360 degrees. So there we go. 2, 4, 6, 8 marks. We haven't yet sketched the graph. We haven't yet sketched the graph. We're going for an ad break, guys. Unfortunately, we've got to pay the bills. Please make sure you take all of this down. When we get back from the break, we will recap on these concepts and then we will start sketching the graph. Enjoy your break.